What's up, everybody? Welcome back to After the Snap. I'm your host, Tasha Pierce, and this is the weekly wrap up where we discuss the week in entertainment. The itinerary for this show is always going to be in the description box, along with links that are relevant to the articles that I used in taking my notes. We stick to the script unless you derail me, and I invite you to air your thoughts in the chat. And with the intro out of the way, let's get into the wrap up. This week, our first story is this is September 11th, 2021, marking the 20th anniversary of the tragedy that was 9/11. And there's a lot of TV, of course, commemorating this event. There are a lot of documentaries and movies that have been released. The movie that I am going to recommend is Worth. It's playing on Netflix, and I will do a review for that movie later this week. But I recommend that movie as opposed to reliving it in almost realistic fashion. At least we know that this is a movie and that this movie is starring Michael Keaton, first and foremost. And it is concerning assigning a worth to the victims of the tragedy of 9/11, assigning a worth to their lives. How much was that person worth in dollars and cents? And it's a true story, and it is gives you a whole different way of looking at the tragedy. The way that these people had to wait pretty much on the government to decide the dollar value that their loved one was worth. So, not spoiling anything, we will talk about this movie later on in the week. And just wanted to put that out there because it's easy to get wrapped up in the documentaries and the real life drama that was 9/11. But sometimes it's better not to relive the tragedy and see what the triumph was when we came out of that. 20 years ago today, wow. And those of us of a certain age can remember vividly what we were doing when we found out that the United States was under attack. And yeah, this was our moment. You know, this is my generation's moment, and we'll never forget. So that is a promise. And another thing that we should never forget is moving into our second main topic of today, which is the very untimely passing of Michael K. Williams. And many people will remember Michael K. Williams as Omar on The Wire. That would be a lot of people's first memory. And then some people will, their memory will be of him as Montrose Freeman on Lovecraft Country. And that is the last place that I saw Mr. Williams perform. And that is probably one of my favorite performances of his. But how will others remember Mr. Williams? And that takes us to our first article of the day, where, let me see. Where we're going to see what his... This is where you know that you've made your mark in the world. Let me put it like that first. You're remembered for the job that you did, because he did a fine job being an actor. But the biggest mark of your legacy, in my opinion, in my humble, is how your neighbors remember you. And yeah, so we remember all of Mr. Williams' on-screen performances and how he made us feel with about his characters. And I say the word feel, and feel means a lot to me. How you feel when you are responding to what that actor is doing on screen. That means they did a hell of a job. They made you feel. But this Brooklyn community mourns Michael K. Williams. They say he never stayed away. He regularly gave back to the East Flatbush neighborhood where he grew up. They even remembered him as just a regular guy. And when a community, when a neighborhood comes out and states that they will miss the soul that was Michael K. Williams, that is bigger than a person just doing their job. Because, yep, he came to perform each and every time that a camera was on and he was the subject. But when he could have easily melted into the background, he didn't. And that, to me, is telling of a man's character. There are allusions that he was using drugs, and that is what caused his death. And his death may turn into a criminal investigation. But we're honoring right now this man's life. And when a neighborhood steps out and says, this man's life, that he was there, changed that area, changed that neighborhood, that's bigger than an Emmy. And he's nominated, of course, for many Emmys this year, I'm sorry. He's nominated for many Emmys this year. However, the prize that I think that is the biggest is the way he will be remembered, not only on screen, but off. And while we're talking about Michael Williams, I won't repeat what 50 Cent said. 50 Cent, he's such a problem. He really has been for a very long time. He doesn't have the sense enough to have a filter. So, him kind of comparing Michael K. Williams' death to a scene out of one of his Power spinoffs. And let me tell you, for me, and of course, I remember that Michael K. Williams also, he played Omar in The Wire, and Omar was a big time drug dealer in The Wire. However, I am trying to avoid, and not in all cases, but in a lot of cases, I'm trying to avoid the TV shows and movies that depict a realistic drug scene. And by that I mean, the manufacturing and distributing of drugs. I'm not completely against Power and what was the other one, Snowfall, and shows like that. I'm not, but I'm a product of, as far as cinema, 80s, 90s. This is where I started really getting into movies, and I've seen enough of that. I really did enjoy Michael K. Williams' turn as Montrose because it married some of the things that are important to me. Sci-fi, the Lovecraft influence on Lovecraft Country, that first and foremost, that's a draw for me. But then also, secondly, it's also that Black experience where we're not being shown as the victim. There are some moments that we play a victim in this show, but in the show, And the way that I want to remember Michael K. Williams is us overcoming those things, coming out heroic on the other side. And even though we didn't get that second season of Lovecraft, we did plan to see Mr. Williams again. He was going to be playing in the film about George Foreman. And let me see, that George Foreman show or movie, he was going to be playing Doc Broadus, who was the trainer and mentor to George Foreman. So that was the next place that we were to see him, and unfortunately, we won't get that performance out of him. However, I know that he would have done just as an outstanding of a job as he's done in so many other things. So yes, this was him, the announcement that was made August 30th that he was going to be playing Doc Broadus as the trainer of two-time world champion George Foreman. And then George Tillman, who we remember from his iconic roles, especially on A Different World, we remember him. I'm sorry, he would be the director of this. He would have been the director of this film. So yeah, we lost him before we got this big role out of him. And he will be remembered for the spectacular turns that he's taken on TV and in movies over the last 20 odd years. And so, yes, that's it. That's Michael K. Williams. And let's see. So, it was hard to say goodbye. And of course, there is still some question about exactly how he met his end. And I'm sure that'll be being talked about over the next few weeks. But I think that we should talk about the way that he affected his community. And, living in that kind of world, playing those types of characters, it can kind of weigh heavy on you, I'd imagine. So, yes, this was us saying goodbye to somebody gone too soon. Our next main topic today is the Russos. Those negotiations stalled with Marvel Comics over a future project that obviously Marvel wanted him. They wanted them for. And they say, no, we won't be doing that. Not at least until they know they have a guarantee of how they would be compensated. Because, let's be real. They have given you 4 beautiful projects in the past for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And in those 4 projects, they worked very closely with Scarlett Johansson. So yeah, that Scarlett Johansson lawsuit is rearing its head again because the directors that have helped to lay a foundation at the House of Mouse's Marvel properties, they've hit an impasse. They say that the way you treated the talent, why would I think you would treat us any differently? And that was all according to the Wall Street Journal, but I am reading what is being reported by Collider. But of course, the story was broken by the Wall Street Journal because they were going to come back, and then the lawsuit happened. And other things about this lawsuit have come out as well. And I am completely flabbergasted that we even got this far. Like, now that we are in, we're in the thrust of this lawsuit, we're finding out that it didn't even have to be that. That Scarlett Johansson and her team wanted to negotiate, and a lot of people are coming up with, oh, she was asking for $100 million. Well, you're damn right. I'm starting at 100 million, and we can work our way down. That's why it's called negotiating. They don't come and tell you how much they're going to pay you. You negotiate, and sometimes you get far more than you bargained for, and sometimes you get exactly what you bargained for because you lowballed yourself. And I'm saying she came out with 100 million because she wanted to end up in the, say, 50 to 70 million range. So you start off high and you negotiate to a middle ground. So people saying, "Oh, she was asking for too much." No, she was asking for just enough, honey. That's like if somebody comes to me and wants to sell me a car. I'm starting at a price that is comfortable for me, and then they'll start at a price that's comfortable for them, and then we will meet somewhere in the middle. That's what you get. That's why it's called negotiating. So there are a lot of folks who don't understand what the meaning of negotiating means. Well, that is an example. Scarlett Johansson asking for 100 million and then letting Disney make the next move. That is an example of how negotiations begin. But they didn't want to play ball. In fact, they were saying that the big guy over at the CAA, that is the talent agency that Scarlett Johansson uses, had opportunity to meet with Disney CEO Bob Chapek. So now you've got the two big guys, and they were able to, or they had an opportunity to iron things out. And once again, it did not happen. Bob Chapek is just, he Bob Chapek. He Bob Chapek. He just goes Chapek, go Chapek. I can't see him doing anything else because this has become now an ongoing saga of bad decisions to me. And to somebody else, they may be perfectly logical. And I invite you to explain the logic in angering your talent and potential directors. So tell me where that makes sense. How that makes any sense. Don't make sense to me. So Bob Chapek, again, he's been doing the whole Chapek thing. And I'm tired of talking about him. I've said that before. I keep talking about his ass. But I really mean, I'm tired of talking about Bob Chapek. He should never be the story. It should have always been something that was handled behind closed doors. And yet here we are, still talking about this months later. And this thing might actually go to court. I don't know. I don't know why you would want that. But, yep, this thing might actually go to court. So, tell me in the comments what you think about the Russos saying, hey, we're ready to hit the brakes on this thing, these negotiations, because we don't know how you'll treat us. You might put our movie directly on Disney Plus, and then what? You know, charging your subscribers $30 as premium access, that's only going to go so far. People are going to stop paying that freaking $30, I tell you. But anywho, we want the Russos back. And I'm not speaking for the entire fandom. I'm just saying this. Their best work has come in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Some of our best MCU movies have come from the Russos. And I mean, I would say The Winter Soldier, that's got to be between my top 5 MCU movies. 2 of them, 3 of them is from the Russos. That is, to me, for me in my top 10 list, that means a lot. I've got 3 of my top 5 coming from the Russos. So they kind of need the boost from the MCU, but the MCU has a history with this duo, knows that they know how to put these big group movies together, and they may not be trying to have them on something like real that's coming up real soon. They may be building up to their big team up movie, and they want to lock down the best director duo out there who has proven and has gotten results. Countless of or several $1 billion movies. So yeah, here we are. We're having a discussion. Excuse me. Oh, sorry. And that discussion was not is not turning out well because of the handling of the Scarlett Johansson situation. So there's that. Okay, I'm gonna skip my number 3 and move down to 4. Just 1 second, because I want to stay in Marvel for just a moment. So it's Shang-Chi. Its box office is still holding. It went down, I think it was 67% over its first week into the second week. It's a strong second weekend so far. They're projecting $31 million, but there is an issue. And then the issue is this, and I've said it a million times before, and I'm saying it again, that when you become, when your platform gets huge, the repercussions of your words become harsher. Those repercussions, and then they come back quick. They come back real quick. It only takes the internet a couple of minutes to realize that you said something you probably shouldn't have said. And even if you stand behind what you say, you have to think about how that affects all the people around you. I can have an opinion, and my opinion can be controversial. And it doesn't matter as much if the only person who is going to be hurt by me speaking my opinion is me. But when it potentially becomes a situation where you cut into the payday of a lot of other people, now you're learning how a big platform comes with some responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. And Simu Liu is learning that. Now, I'm not saying that he was wrong, because he just repeated, in my opinion, as far as the tweets, old tweets or old interview that he had, where he said that his parents told him that living in communist China was like a third world country, among other things. So there were other things said, but that was one of the things. And of course, the internet doesn't forget. So those thoughts, opinions came out, and now China is doubling down on the fact that they will not be airing, they won't be bringing Shang-Chi or the Eternals. Oh, excuse me. So sorry. They won't be bringing Shang-Chi or the Eternals to China because of controversial statements made by the talent, whether it be the director in the Eternals, Chloe Zhao, or the star of Shang-Chi, Simu Liu. But yep, we are finding out that consequences, they come. Sometimes they come faster than others. But we are finding that Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is looking at that estimated $31.8 million fourth biggest second weekend for a September release after It Chapter 2, and Hotel Transylvania 2. So Disney has responded to the success of the box office success of Shang-Chi by saying that, hey, Eternals, you guys are getting a solely theatrical release, 30 to 45 days, and then go to Disney Plus after that. Not only the Eternals, but there is like a slate of movies that they're saying yes, we're gonna put this out simply, a theatrical release, and then we'll bring it to Disney Plus. So now that it has been seen that this thing can work, that people for the right movie will go to the cinema to see this movie, now people are getting a little more confident. And by people, I mean the studios that these movies are affiliated with. And one of those, and I don't have it. I don't know why I don't have that as one of my top topics here, was Sony. Sony decided, hey, we're gonna move Venom again, but this time they did not push it back to further, in the future. Like maybe 2 weeks ago, there were a lot of people coming out and saying, hey, we've got it on good authority that Venom is going to move to 2022, January sometime. And the question was like, why? Why? But if you remember, way back when I did the Venom trailer reaction, I said then they're going to move Venom. This is why they didn't put the date on the trailer. And it was supposed to come out September 24th. They moved it, and they moved it to October 15th. And then I said they might move this thing again because they want to see exactly they want to see exactly how let me go over here and answer. They got to go and see exactly how Shang-Chi is going to do. So they see how Shang-Chi is going to do, and Shang-Chi did well. They could not beat it. So they said, hey, we could put our movie out. And not only are they putting it out, they're putting it out 2 weeks sooner. So we will get Venom, Let There Be Carnage, on October 1st. So we're going to jump spooky season off with Sony's Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Now, there was a lot of hullabaloo about the movie having a PG-13 rating. Well, if you want to compare that movie and the way that it is going to behave in the box office, if you want to compare that to Shang-Chi, it could not have been a rated R movie. It was going to always have to be PG-13 because you cut off, with rated R, you cut off a huge part of your audience. We know that males from 13 probably on to 40 something are going to hit the movies for a new superhero movie. But because this movie is doing well, if Shang-Chi did well, it would have been crazy to put it out as a rated R because then you're cutting off from 13 to 17-year-old males. Not saying that females do not go, because obviously I'm a female and I'm there first weekend most of these movies. However, the box office really moves with that male demographic. Yeah, you messed up my life. That's okay, girl. I said at the top, I welcome being derailed, because it stops sounding like a lecture and it starts to sound like a conversation, and that's really where I'm trying to go with this thing. I like to talk about these movies. So, anywho, going back to talking about Venom. Yeah, if they would have made that movie a rated R, they would have lost a huge part of the demographic that comes out to these movies. So you don't want to lose that. Nobody wants to have people that would gladly pay to see your movie sitting on the sidelines. So we are getting Venom, Let There Be Carnage 2 weeks early because of the success of Shang-Chi in the box office. I'm going to talk about Antoine Fuqua because he's got a movie coming out, and it's a Netflix movie. And we know that sometimes Netflix movies, I've said it like a million times, Netflix movies are a hit and miss. One time you'll watch a Netflix movie and it'll be fantastic, and the very next Netflix movie you watch will be boo boo. Well, this, according to the people over at Little White Lies, we got Jake Gyllenhaal racing against time in the first trailer for The Guilty, and I'm looking forward to it simply because, okay, first and foremost, we got Antoine Fuqua directing this movie. It is a remake of a Danish movie about an emergency responder who receives a disturbing call. Now, I've liked some of the movies that have been remade, repackaged for the Western audience when they come from overseas. And one of the examples of that was the girl with the dragon tattoo. I liked and I don't know what that language was. I want to say, yeah, I don't want to say the original girl with the dragon tattoo, because I'm not trying to upset anybody by getting it wrong. But the original girl with the dragon tattoo with the subtitles, absolutely loved it. And I liked the remake that we did for Western audiences. And I think I liked the original better. This is another situation where, we watch a movie with the subtitles and it's fantastic, and you get to see what Denmark brings to the table as it comes to thrillers. Well, we're going to get Antoine Fuqua again, giving us the Americanized version of this movie. And it's coming out on Netflix. Let me see. So we got Jake Gyllenhaal. We also have Ethan Hawke, Riley Cole. I never know how to say that. Paul Dano and Peter Skarsgård. And they don't have who is playing what roles yet, but we know that somebody is going to call dispatch over on like a 911, and I think Gyllenhaal is the person who answers the phone on the other side. Of course, it's going to start at the Toronto International Film Fest, and then it's going to come around to Netflix very soon afterwards. So, October 1st for the Netflix drop of this movie. I'm looking forward to it. I watched a Netflix movie yesterday. Yeah, it just came out yesterday, called Kate. Later this week, you guys will be getting Later this week, you guys are going to be getting a review for the movie Kate. Let me see. I got Dion down here. She's chatting me up. Okay, she says she can't wait to see Venom. Me either, especially how Carnage looks good. Now, the only question I have, again, and then this goes to people who are visually impaired, there were even parts of that trailer that were so dark that I couldn't see it really. So I'm wondering if it's going to be one of those movies that I just I'm not going to be able to see. I'm not going to be able to uh, make out what's going on the screen because it's such a dark. And let me see. Dion says the original girl with the dragon tattoo is the only one I watched. I thought it was good too. Don't know why I didn't watch the others. Well, shoot. I mean, they were good. Now, I got really into the girl with the dragon tattoo after reading the book, then hearing that there was the foreign movie version of it, and I watched it, and they had it was with transcripts. I mean, so I had to read the subtitles and all of this. But I really enjoyed that one. And then I heard they were doing it here with, I believe it was Rooney Mara. And when they did it here, I didn't like it as much as the original. The original one was very faithful. But I did like it. And I did end up going to see, I believe I saw the second one. And I don't know if there was a third one. So that's telling you kind of that I wasn't interested in seeing anymore. However, the guy who wrote the books, he was to continue writing these books, and then he passed away. So we didn't get his vision of how this thing was supposed to end up, and I think that's what kind of made lost me, was the fact that he passed. Okay, so that was my Antoine Fuqua. Really, that was just to let you know that there's a trailer available, and also to get your mind for October 1st. There's a lot of movies going on around in there, but give Antoine Fuqua's Guilty an opportunity on Netflix. If you got Netflix, there's no reason not to watch it. Okay, so Malignant. That is our movie that came out this weekend, and he is directed by James Wan. And the question is, what the heck happened as far as the box office for this movie? Because he generally has he's a box office draw in the horror genre, but this time people did not really come out. And of course, I'm setting this question up. I'm asking this question because I already got an idea of what the answer is. And one of the answers to what the heck happened with with Malignant, as far as its box office is concerned, is that you can watch it on HBO Max. Like, why would I chance going to the movies if I've got HBO Max? I'm just gonna sit and watch this movie at home. Am I right? So that day and date strategy, once again, is biting a movie in the ass, because the people who would kind of take a chance and go out to see it don't have to. If I've got a 80-inch screen in my house, which I don't, I don't have it like that. But if I have a huge screen in my home, then I might not be tempted to go out. I can just watch it at home. So if you take that choice away from people, and they are forced to, if they want to watch your movie, they're forced to kind of have to do it at the movies, well then that makes more sense to me. You have a better chance of a movie making some money, because as it stands, I think it only made $4 or $5 million. Malignant. Let me make sure I'm saying this correctly, though. I'm not trying to give y'all bad information out here in these streets. So let's transition so that you can see that James Wan's Dario Argento-inspired Malignant via New Line doesn't quite cut it with a theatrical debut of $5.5 million after a $2 million Friday. $2 million. Now I don't know. I don't know how much this movie costs to make. It does have a lot of CG in it. I did go to see it. And this is another thing. The movie to me was a C movie. I gave it 3 out of 5. And like I said in the original review, that 3 wasn't like, oh, but it was so close to a 4. No, it was so close to being a 2 that I was just generous as far as giving it the 3 status. You go to the movies to see a horror movie, though, you're not going to be wowed by the script. You're not going to try to find some inspiration for your life, your next move in life. You're going to be afraid. That's what you want when you go to a horror movie. You want to get scared. If you know James Wan and you know his work, like we've seen his work in non-horror, in Aquaman. We've also seen it in The Conjuring, in Insidious, and movies of that nature. So when you think about James Wan, there's a certain type of body horror, there's a certain type of gore, and if you are familiar with his prior works, you knew this is what you were walking into, and you get that in spades. It's a lot of gore. There's a lot of body horror. It is does have a dark palette in places where things are happening that if you are visually impaired that you might not be able to make out. This is another one of those movies, of course, that is on HBO Max, and that's going to hurt it, because if a person like me, who I went to the theaters to see it, I have an opinion, and I'm speaking to an audience who may have something in common with me, which is the fact that visually dark films do not translate well with me. 3D doesn't translate well with me. I can't see that well because I have these impairments. I'm speaking to other people who have them, and I'm saying if you can watch this movie at home, it's going to translate just the same as you watching it at the theater, maybe even better at home, because you can go back and see what that was that you missed in the darkness. Whereas at the movies, if I missed something because the situation or the scene was so dark that I couldn't see it, I just missed it. So now I've lost some of the nuance of the movie. Of course, these movies are not made to like, okay, Tasha, can you see it? But it should come and have people with these impairments in mind when they create them. Did not take me out of the movie, the dark scenes. There's a lot going on I'll put it like this. There's a lot going on that is very well lit. And if you want to see gore, and you want to see body horror, and you want to see a creature contort its body into impossible poses, James Wan is your man, and you get exactly what you pay for. James Wan is going to give you James Wan. Even in Aquaman, we got hints of James Wan when we went to the trench and saw those trench creatures. That was James Wan. That's his signature. Not to mention, all the rest of the James Wan Easter eggs that were in the trench. But again, it wasn't the worst movie of the year. That award goes to Karen. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, watch my review for Karen, and then come back and we could talk about it. But it wasn't the worst movie of the year. It wasn't even close to being the worst, because I honestly think it wasn't a bad movie because I know what to expect. I wasn't expecting an Oscar-winning performance from anybody, and I did not get that. And that's not what I went to a horror movie for in the first place. So I've talked about James Wan and how he did potentially get sabotaged by Warner Brothers, though. And then a lot of people say it's better to see it in the theater. I'm not in agreement. If you can watch it at home, and just watch it at home. Just watch it at home. If you can watch it there, just watch it at home. Okay, so Where was I on my list? Okay. So yeah, we talked about Shang-Chi not going to China. We talked about Antoine Fuqua. Oh, Star Trek Lower Decks. Uh, because I had problems with my recording software, my editing software, and that sort of thing. Let me tell you, sometimes I can be the smartest person in the room, and sometimes I'm just a dummy. Okay. So, with my recording software, and I was having all these issues, and I was like, I can't get it to record. One of the first things that you're taught when you're opening and you're having problems with, well, now Dion, you might feel 100% different if you go to see this movie. This is just Tasha's opinion. It's to me like a C. Yeah, it's a C movie. And it's because even though, okay, you're getting the body horror, you're getting the gore, but you still expect a little continuity. And the problem with the continuity in this movie was I never knew how strong this creature was supposed to be. In one scene, you got the creature running from a mortal human, like it's running scared from this person. And then in the next scene, this thing got superhuman strength and agility. So I'm like, okay, which is it? Is it scared of humans? Or is it so strong that it can just break a human in half? And if I'm missing that continuity, if you just making this monster do whatever it is that you need it to do in this scene to make this scene interesting, but he'll be able to do something different in the next scene, I got a problem. That monster needs to be strong all the way through or weak all the way through. We can't have it both ways unless you show me something that makes me say, oh, okay, so now he's gotten stronger or something. Nope. This monster was legitimately deciding who to be a monster with. And I don't want to spoil nothing, so I ain't gonna spoil anything. But that is my opinion. That's why I graded it down. Because no, I'm not expecting. Say I don't even have HBO Max, but you're starting to convince me I should get it. Well, okay, HBO Max is $15 a month. I think it's 15 a month. So if you are going to, especially this year, we got what? This is September, October, November, December. We got 3 more months left. And they promised that they were putting all of their new releases on HBO Max day and date this year. So if they live up to that promise, which I hope they don't, I hope they break that promise, because these movies are getting hurt financially by coming out on HBO Max and at the theaters. And then if it's hurting financially, the movie, it's hurting that theater super financially too. The theater is threatening to go the way of our drive-ins, and drive-ins used to be the thing. And then once we got these indoor cinemas and all of this, people started to make the choice to go to the indoor cinemas, and we left the drive-throughs alone, or the drive-ins alone. Well, I don't want to see the theater go the way of the drive-in. I want to see the theater stay alive. However, if you look at the calendar of Warner Brothers movies that's coming out from now until the end of the year, and it makes financial sense for you to say, I'd rather just spend the $15 and watch them all at home, or I'd rather pick and choose the ones that I want to see in the theater. That's really it. I've got HBO Max, and I could have watched Malignant at home, but I wanted to see if it translated well on the big screen, and I gambled in the fact that I couldn't make out some of the stuff. I had problems with continuity of this monster. And of course, the acting is not gonna ever be that super great, So that stuff I can let all that go. And it's gory, and I'm not the biggest gore person, but I can handle it. So that's why I went at 11 o'clock in the morning. So even that I can let go. But all of those things makes me say I should have watched it at home. When you add all of that stuff together, I should have just stayed at the house, popped me some popcorn, and watched Malignant. Now, who else? What else? Oh, so I was going to talk about. I was talking about Star Trek Lower Decks, and I was supposed to do a video. Couldn't do the video because I couldn't get my recording software and editing software to act right. And 101, it's like you just uninstall it and reinstall it. And that didn't hit me till this morning. Like, why didn't I just uninstall it and reinstall it? And I did that, and it's working now. So I might be able to get some videos done this weekend. We gonna see. But Star Trek Lower Decks season 2 episode 5 was an embarrassment of dupplers. And if you remember back to the original series, and we got them again in Deep Space Nine, the Tribbles, the Trouble with Tribbles. Well, the dupplers are Lower Decks version of the Tribbles. And while I'm not going to sit here and break down minute by minute what happened in this episode, I am going to say that I was very pleased. After last week's episode with the Gamato, Star Trek Yeti, whatever he is, after the sexual situations that we found ourselves in with that episode last week, I was ready for everything to go back to normal on the USS Cerritos. And things did. We had these dupplers on board, and they were being transported to Starbase 25. And while they were transporting him, while they were transporting him, there was a big party planned on that starbase as well. So now you got this party and you got these dupplers. The problem with the dupplers is if they become agitated, they'll create duplicates of themselves. So everybody has to be pretty much walking on eggshells around these dupplers because they don't want them to start duplicating, because once they start duplicating, they can't stop. So the dupplers start duplicating because they heard the captain saying, God, I'd be glad to get them the hell off my ship because I'm tired of walking on eggshells. All I want to do is go to this party. So the dupplers heard this, and of course the duplicating started. And by 15 minutes into this thing, you've got the entire ship filled with dupplers. We learn that if you snap on the dupplers and they have to snap back, that will make them come back together. So that was something that came in handy to find out towards the end of the show. But in the meantime, we've got Mariner and Boimler. They want to go to the party too, and Boimler is invited because his clone that's serving on the Titan wasn't going to be able to go to this party, so he was going to take the clone's place and have Mariner as his +1. Of course, that did not go as planned, and they didn't get into the party. But what they did do was strengthen their friendship, strengthen their bond while they were on this star base, and they ended up not going to the party, but going to like a regular bar that's on the star base, and they find out that their friendship is following in the footsteps of Kirk and Spock, and you can see that their names were etched into the bar top. So to commemorate their friendship in the same way, yeah, to commemorate their friendship in the same way, they had to etch their names into the bar as well. None of the officers of the USS Cerritos were able to go to this party, so they ended up all meeting up in this bar, and they had a better party than they would have had they gone to the Starfleet party. You know, the company parties are always stuffy. You have more fun when it's just you and a group of people that you really want to be with, and you guys are chilling in a more quiet and intimate setting, and not intimate like last week with the Magato Gamados. Not that kind of intimacy. Just intimacy in meaning we're away from work. I'm here with people that I want to be with, and we're the life of the party. We made the party, so I enjoyed it. I liked this episode. I liked the play on the tribbles with the duplers. I liked the Rutherford and Tindy thing, how they figured out that they learned to spend time with one another because they never finish a project. So if you never finish a project and you have to keep coming back to this project, you and Rutherford, Tindy and Rutherford, will always have time to spend with each other, and that's what they did. They decided they did not want to finish a project because once they finished the project, there would be no excuse to hang out anymore. So we're starting to see it's almost scary. It's almost seeming like we're going to get something romantic out of at least one of these pairs, and I'm a little worried because once you start entering romance into it, it can start to get a little funky. So there's that. But yeah, I enjoyed this episode of Star Trek Lower Decks, and out of my 5-point ratings, I give this one a 3.5. And no, you know what? I give it a 4. I don't have to be. It doesn't have to be 3. It can be a 4 for this one. It wasn't a bad episode. I found the duplicating things funny, and I liked getting to know these characters just a little bit more. Each week, we are learning a little bit more about Mariner and Boimler, Tindy and Rutherford, and I'm here for it. So that was a good episode. But I know that somebody, or almost everybody, is going to let me know what they thought down in the comments below, and I am super excited to hear from you. Now, let's move on to Marvel's What If. Marvel is killing us lately, man. I don't know if you're following the What If TV show, but it started off and I thought it was going to have some optimism to it, and then every week we start to see our favorite characters just die in different ways. This week it was Marvel Zombies, and of course we get to explore these kinds of things in this what if situation, and also it's animated, so you know we're not killing nobody for real, but we are watching them die in like so many different ways. The week before last, it was all of the Avengers get picked off one by one, and then before they could even become Avengers, they just dead. Okay, so reset. We go to last week where we had Doctor Strange bringing Christine back to life and dying over and over and over again. Okay. When I saw this week, and I'm like, okay, we got the guys all together. The gang's all here. And then we find that so many of our favorite Avengers turned into zombies, pitting an unlikely group of our Avengers together to have to kill, to basically be zombie hunters. And we did watch some of our favorites be killed this week. Like a lot of our favorites. So I don't know. I don't know how much more of this can we take, Disney. I was loving. I still am loving it. The stories are great. It gets better to me each week. Each week has been a better episode than the one before it. But it's a lot of death going on. It's a lot of people getting killed. It's a lot. Tell me how we are getting to, how we're going to get to hope and optimism by the end of this thing, because we've only got a few more weeks before, y'all got to wrap this shit up. How we wrapping it up? But this was a great episode. The zombie episode, out of 5, I'm gonna give it a 4. Maybe, you know what, a 4.5 out of 5 for the zombie episode, because it had everything. And just when you thought that at least we're gonna end on a hopeful note, nope. No. So if you haven't seen it, like I said, I'm not spoiling much. If you've seen any zombie movie, you have seen something similar to this episode, but there is always a twist. And that twist was something, it wasn't nothing nice. Nothing nice at all. I really wish that I could report that it ended differently, but no, it's bad. As always. Or as it has been for the last 3 weeks. And there was T'Challa. We got some Chadwick in this episode, and let me tell you, I cried because he said, in my culture, death is just a stepping stone. So he had said these words before in the MCU, but it takes on a whole new meaning. And we know that he is constantly alive because we remember them. We don't forget him. And because we still have these little performances on Disney's What If, it keeps him alive to us. So Chadwick Brother Boseman, man, we still had we still have some performances. I think we got at least one more left of him. And yeah, I think once it's over and we know that he's not going to show up again in the MCU, we still have a library of movies of Brother Chadwick's work. And he'll never be forgotten. Just like I was talking about Michael K. Williams won't be forgotten, Chadwick Boseman will not be forgotten. So, but it does get emotional. If you are an emotional person, it gets emotional in this episode of What If. My last and not least for today is DC's Titans. And I'm a little worried. And I say that because I have been watching Titans since season 1. There's a lot that needs to be established right now that we've had 3 seasons to establish. We need to establish that Beast Boy can turn into something other than a freaking tiger. We need to make that part of canon at this point now. I don't know, this story with Scarecrow is starting to become very circuitous. I don't know what are we working towards in this arc now. In the beginning, I thought I had an idea. This week, we see no Lady Vic, period. None. So, where the hell did she go? Why was she even introduced last week? This week, we got Jason Todd being held to a chair with some freaking duct tape. Like, I'm trying to figure out, again, this is one of those James Wan situations for me. Is Jason Todd strong and smart? Like, is he, because he was a Robin, so he's got to have some of Batman's wiles about him, and there is no way that Jason Todd can get uh, duct taped to a chair and that was going to be enough to hold him, especially this more violent Jason Todd that we have in this season of Titans. That doesn't even make sense to me. So what the hell is really going on? What is Scarecrow? What is his game plan? You didn't think that if you put all of the city's gangsters around a truck, that wasn't going to be a magnet for the Titans to come? I'm not getting how he went from being this mastermind who outsmarted Batman and Nightwing and Robin to now being so dumb that you think that I'm going to put all of the city's gangsters outside of this cargo trailer or whatever, and the Titans are not going to know that I'm the one that put them there. So we don't know if Jonathan Crane, they don't know. The writers don't know how smart they want Jonathan Crane to be. Then we're moving into the romance of Dick, Nightwing, and Barbara Gordon, and I'm not ready for that. Right now, you've got the city of Gotham under siege by one of your own and Jonathan Crane. Wouldn't that be like your top of mind kind of situation? Like, that's what I need to be putting all of my thoughts and actions to. We watched Barbara Gordon destroy Oracle. That wasn't smart. Well, and I don't know if she's really destroyed it. I'm not sure if she was just trying to make Scarecrow think she had done that. We'll see. We'll see. But again, these characters that we have come to expect a certain amount of intellect from, they're not showing us that they're smart right now. They're really being, in this episode, they've done a lot of dumb shit. And again, I want to know, are they smart or are they dumb? Am I supposed to believe that Nightwing, who worked under Bruce Batman for years, that he has no clue about how to get 1 to 2 steps ahead of these bad guys by now? This is not Robin. This is Nightwing. At this point, he's graduated from being a Robin character, but he's still there. He's at Wayne Manor with the Batcave. So my question is, why is he not using all of those talents that he honed under Batman? Why is he not using it to get out of this situation and to get ahead of Jonathan Crane? He's continuously playing 1 to 2 steps behind, when at this stage of the game, Batman would have been 4 or 5 steps ahead. Am I making sense? Yes, honey. Rest in peace, Chadwick and Michael. This is 100%. This is, 2020 and 2021 has been so very cruel to us as far as taking away some of our greats, and some of our greats before they get to be known as greats. People are starting to give people their flowers after they're gone. And I'm like, we got an opportunity. Maybe I'll do that. We got an opportunity every week to talk about a black actor or actress or director, to give them a little bit of love before, we get to the slow singing and flower bringing. I think maybe that's something we'll add to the weekly wrap up, where we'll close out on talking about somebody's and their contribution to film, especially especially of blacks, African Americans. We could talk about that, but anybody, because just like last week, I got super emotional talking about Steve Martin and Martin Short, and that's because those two guys are getting up there in age. And then you think about Morgan Freeman, and you think about Al Pacino, you think about those people, Jack Nicholson. Uh, they're getting up there, and why wait until uh, the funeral to start talking good about these guys and what they brought to cinema and the things that we remember their performances before they're gone. Let's do that. Talk about them while they're still here, and of course, we're still going to eulogize them when they're gone, but that shouldn't always be it. It should always be, this might not be seen by them, but it's out there as part of the record that these people touched all kinds of people with their performances. My brother Chadwick, my brother Michael Williams, and those that have gone before and those who will go after. So there's that. But yeah, so going back to my DC Titans, this episode is not, they're not moving in the right direction for me. I'm still watching. I haven't given up. Out of 5, I'm going to give this one a 2. 2 out of 5, because we're not moving my story along. I don't know what the hell. They were in such a big hurry at the beginning of the season to make everything happen. We got Jason Todd turning into Red Hood. We got Red Hood. We find out what his motives are. All of that happened in the first 3 episodes, and we could have slowed everything down and had it happening over these 5 episodes or 6 episodes, instead of all of that shit happening in the first episode. And now we're hitting a lull in the plot. Doesn't make sense to me. We should not have. I don't know. If you're watching DC's Titans, it's on HBO Max. If you're watching it and you got a different feeling coming up out of that, please let me know in the comments, because if you look at last week's weekly wrap up, this week's weekly wrap up, I have a tremendous amount of questions, and I'm not getting answers for them, and it's starting to bother me. I'm feeling like we don't have any direction of where we're going. We did have Blackfire assist in bringing down Jonathan Crane's henchman with the whatever this drug is that they're about to release over Gotham. We did get Blackfire getting an opportunity to suit up and to show her usefulness. And I'm wondering when she's going to turn heel on him, because you know what's coming. She's going to turn heel. But anywho, that was probably, to me, the best thing. It was to see her suit up and to see Connor say, his eyes get huge. He's like, "You look great." Even though he could see straight through her clothes if he wanted to. Because, again, we are dumbing these characters down to the very last compound, and I'm not sure I like it. They don't even have to do this, but I'm going to trust that they have a plan, and I'm going to continue to watch DC's Titans. So please let me know your thoughts, DC's Titans, or any other topics that I spoke about today. I'm going to give it a minute or two to see if anybody has anything they want to talk about before I get out of here for the day. Of course, it has been fun as usual. And, yep. I'm going to give y'all a second just in case you got anything for me. Outside of that, I'm going to ride out. Took us an hour and 15 minutes, but that's because I had to talk a little Star Trek Lower Decks with you today. I'm keeping my eye very closely on the Malignant box office to see if there's a change in tide for what they think is going to happen. But $5 million is not. Thank you, Dion. It's a good idea about the African American actors. Yep, I think that we'll make that part of the show. But I'm gonna keep my eye on the Malignant box office. See if we're gonna have that disappointment, that $5 million disappointment, because that movie could have done so much better if it was not playing on HBO Max at the same time. Even though, again, there's issues, problems, concerns that I might have. You might not find those to be issues at all, and that is why it is good to have so many different people giving opinions. You don't ever want to get in a situation where the only people you listen to is people who think just like you. Doesn't challenge you and it doesn't make you grow. So here we are. I'm being challenged and I'm growing because I want to see what Malignant ends up doing for the rest of this weekend. I cannot wait to share with you my thoughts on the movie Kate again. I got a review coming for that. I got a review coming for the movie Worth. Next week's Film Friday review is going to be Cop Shop, I think, unless I change my mind. And Cop Shop is, I believe Gerard Butler is in that one, and I'm excited. Oh no, let me not overstate my excitement. I am interested in seeing if that movie does something different than what the trailer looks like it's going to do. And again, if you are ever interested in catching some of these trailers that you may have missed, you can go to IMDb, and those trailers are available all in one place for you. So you can go back and take a look at some of them. So imdb.com, go there, take a look at some of those trailers, and see if it's something that you like, if you want to discuss. Outside of that, I've got nothing else. It's been fun. I'll talk to everybody next week. Remember my Film Friday on Facebook? How's that for alliteration? Film Friday on Facebook. That is on Fridays at 7 p.m. Central Time. I will be talking next week about Cop Shop. And then you'll join me here. Keep your eyes out for videos that will be coming out throughout the week. And also meet me right back here for the weekly wrap up on Saturdays, where we are going to discuss that week's entertainment news and these TV shows that I have been following. If nobody has anything else for me, I'm going to sign off. See you in the next one. Peace.